A big hi to all. It's the 1st of May 24. It's the Beltane Day. First day of summer. Although, I don't think, it depends who you talk to. Because I think summer, I think it's June, July, August. Anyway, yeah. 1st of May 2024. And I'm talking about the only thing that matters. Mass immigration to the West, UK, Scotland, and how we're going to end up in anarchy with this new experiment that's never been tried before. Humans have been for about 215,000 years. In Britain, this is a new experiment from 1948, really. Yeah, I'm just looking because there's a lot of things going on this week about immigration in Britain, mainly because that Rwanda bill went through. And I noticed, so I'm going to talk in 3 stories basically. I'm going to talk about the EU elections coming up in about 37 days, I think it is. The voting starts, I think it's over a few days. And apparently the European People's Party are now, they've just suddenly said that they're going to look at a sort of third country deal like the UK has with Rwanda for immigration. And that's fun. That's the leading group in Europe. It's the group of the centre-right parties. I guess it would include the Tories. Well, the Tories aren't there because we're out of Europe. Yeah, you know, like the CDU in Germany and in France, Macron's group, I guess. The European People's Party, they call themselves over there. By the way, I'm trying this mic the other way around with the 1may mic facing towards me rather than the face mic. So, yeah, European. So they've basically saying they're maybe looking at doing a thing that the Tories. Test. Yeah, I think I'm connected again. No one's listening anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, and the other thing to talk about is Ireland, because Ireland's in chaos at the moment, and again, because of immigration, it's basically the politicians aren't listening to the people, because Ireland's changed over the last 25 years, say, beyond recognition, really. I think about 20% of their population is foreign born now, maybe even more than that. It's changed even more than Britain. I mean, in 1995, it probably just looked like Ireland that people dream about. But now, if you went to Ireland, it's probably unrecognisable, really. You'd actually wonder if you were in Ireland. But the thing is that they're now starting to, the immigration thing is really ramping up now, probably because people are reading TikTok and finding out groups of this softest touches to go to in the West. And the thing about Ireland, if you get there, not only do you get EU citizenship, you also get free travel to Britain. So that means that people can just go there and then move to Britain, which is what they wanted to do. And then the third thing I'm going to talk about is today we've heard that the first Rwanda detainees are being detained for deportation, even though it's not maybe for about 10 weeks. I mean, personally, I think all illegal immigrants should be detained all the time. But apparently that's not British to do that, apparently. Real nice. Oh, all the Brits are nice. Yeah, so that's sort of happening today, and it just so happens that tomorrow is the London mayoral election and the council elections, so I'm guessing this has been to tie in with that. And the Daily Mail's had it as our headline, but we've yet to really see what it's going to mean. Yeah, well, it was a headline, it's not anymore. It's down to number 5 or something. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about those 3 things. First of all, hello, you still there? Yeah, first of all, let's talk about the European People's Party. That's 1my24 and the crew, the CDU of Germany and all the centre-right of Europe. That's what they call themselves in the thing. Okay, let's go. Europe's biggest and most influential political group is calling for a deportation deal where European nations can deport illegal migrants and send them to other countries. The plan by the centre-right European People's Party is reminiscent of the UK's Rwanda deal, where the UK government plans to pay the African country to take the UK's illegal migrants. So the interesting thing about this is what's so bad about Rwanda? What's so bad about Africa? I mean, it should be it's beautiful, it's warm. It should be one of the most desirable places on the planet. But it doesn't seem to be, for the Jay-Z and Beyonce and that. They don't have a mansion over there, as far as I know. Doesn't seem to appeal to them. Yeah, so first of all, that's one thing. What's wrong with these countries? I mean, Rwanda's beautiful. That's where the gorillas are. Probably the only place that has gorillas in Africa, I think, maybe. I think it borders with Uganda, so both of them. That's where that movie was made. Thingy in the Mist, or whatever they called it. That you all loved. Gorillas in the Mist. Yeah, so what's up with Rwanda and all that? Why is Diane Abbott and Don Butler and that so down in Rwanda? Shouldn't they be promoting it? Anyway, yeah, so they're now starting to think of this. Boris did say that, although Boris did oversee the biggest amount of immigration legal and loophole immigrations that we've ever had. So don't think of Boris as some sort of saviour. He's probably the worst ever for this issue, especially amongst students, bringing their families and all that sort of business, every loophole you can think of. In fact, the Daily Mail have been doing a list of loopholes this week from what I've seen, and I mean, they were all pretty obvious, and I see that even Uber Eats and Thingy Deliveroo are going to start looking at who's working for them harder, so that they've done some deal with the government, which is no surprise. The government probably said, well, if you don't do a deal, we're going to crack down on you, because I think this is why we've got these bikes and electric bikes outside these sort of hotels where the illegals are staying while they wait for the government to approve them, because their bar set so low or they just give up. Anyway, the European People's Party is a key backer of Ursula von der Leyen, who I think is totally incompetent, by the way, especially the way she handled COVID. That's where her incompetence came to the fore for me. The President of the European Commission, one of the highest positions in the European Union. Von der Leyen is herself a member and backer of the group, which includes dozens of political parties across Europe, many of which are in power in their respective countries. Another interesting thing about that is apparently von der Leyen has just said, and this is because they're under pressure in their own countries, because people are so desperate, natives are so desperate in their own countries that they're having no choice, which is totally understandable, and the sort of thing I'd do as well, is they're voting for far-right parties. I mean, we don't really have a far-right party here apart from Britain First, and the Social Democrat Party have a good, excellent plan on immigration. So, and they're a left of centre party. So, to me, they're the true Labour Party, the true British Labour. The real Labour, if you want to call them, the actual Labour Party are really just the Trojan Party for anarchy. Anyway, so they're under pressure, all these centre-right leaders across Europe, because they've told us for years, you can't be against that, and if you are, we're going to call you the R word. That's the way it's been. But now they're native people, just can't bear it anymore. And over in Germany, the AfD are doing really well. They were up about a year and a half ago, they were at about 12%, and that was probably their highest, or thereabouts. But then they went up to about 20%, 21% after the election, I think. They've come down a bit now to about 19%, which is a shame in my opinion, because you've got to keep the pressure on. But I mean, it's about a single issue, and it's about a protest party. It's not about all the other things the party stands for. It's just about this single issue and a protest vote. And that's why ones like the CDU are saying things like this now, and Ursula von der Leyen. Probably 5-10 years ago, you couldn't get anyone who was more welcoming to make the natives of Germany a minority, who was more on board with that, Anyway, von der Leyen is herself a member and backer of the group, which includes dozens of political parties across Europe, many of which are in power in their respective countries. Yeah, this is what I was saying, there's another right side group in the EU Parliament called the European Conservative the ECR, I think they're called, or something. And that's the ones that have got Meloni of Italy, who's been a bit of a weakling, really, from what she said before she got elected. Who else would be in it? There would be the French Le Pen's party, Vox from Spain, AfD, Germany, Swedish Democrats, all them will be in that party. And von der Leyen has actually said today or yesterday that she would be looking to listen to the ECR. So this is a new stance from von der Leyen and the European People's Party, because I think they've all said they would never do it with them or anything. So it shows you the pressures happening. I would say to EU voters though, vote right, far right at the election, vote AfD, vote Vox, because it's still too soon. You've just got to vote on a single issue, protest vote. Forget all of the other issues that they're standing for. You're trying to save Europe, What else does it say? The group's manifesto states, we want to implement the concept of safe third countries. Anyone applying for asylum in the European Union could also be transferred to a safe third country and undergo the asylum process there. The other interesting thing about this is Rwanda's a beautiful country. I think more than half their parliamentarians are women, and they've done that because of they feel they trust women more, so they deliberately made it more women in the hopes that they would never do again what happened 30 years ago or whatever. Because when you think that thing was 30 years ago, so that's like saying you're not safe in Germany in 1975, I think most people felt safe in Germany in 1946 because in Japan, but not Afghanistan or Iraq. It just goes to show you that it's up to the people there how the country goes. I mean, the Beatles were in Germany in 1960, doing not tours, just playing Hamburger. Just goes to show you that was like 15 years after the war to end all wars, which was actually the First World War, but the Second World War was probably even more. So yeah, and I think about Rwanda. What happens if it turns out they really like it? The first group of sent over there, if they stay, because I think most of them will just go home to their own countries, basically, and try and get back to Britain again. But if any stay there, and what if the word gets out, it's really nice, because it's a beautiful country, it's warm, it should be one of the most desirable places to move, really. That's the only reason people should be moving, really, for warmth and beauty, really, because every country should be functioning as an economy easily. I mean, Africa could be a total economic powerhouse if the people wanted it. And these sort of things I'm saying, a Nigerian in the streets of Dublin is saying the same thing. He's living in a tent in Dublin. Not today because it get taken away. But yeah, he was saying the same in another article, which I'm going to talk about. Yeah, so this, what if it turns out it's really nice, and what if Diana Abbott hears it's really nice and she wants a holiday home there and stuff, and then maybe in that situation, it might be we don't want any native Brits there or anything, maybe a campaign for that from Labour MPs here. You're not welcome here or whatever, you know. Because the thing is, this is an opportunity. The fact is that a lot of countries are looking for people, for working age people. These people are saying that they can't live in their own countries. Well, you can go here. They're looking for people. They want to build their economy. I think it's one of the fastest growing economies in Africa as well, which probably isn't too hard even to get a fast pace there. Because South Africa seems to have gone downhill since 1994, and Zimbabwe as well since 1980 probably. But it's looking good from what I've seen anyway. So it seems that the left and the woke are saying these places are hell. They're not fit. Then the question is why? What is it about those countries that the left and woke feel make them hell? Um, yeah. So this type of country thing, I really hope that takes off a lot. There's been a few other countries I've wanted to suggest that they might try it. Because they're getting paid as well. Of course, at the moment we're paying Turkey billions to keep Syrians there and others. So Turkey, it seems, isn't their final destination. They don't, even though it's maybe the most modern Muslim country, I would guess, the most democratic, or in theory, or it used to be. Okay, let's keep going with this. However, despite planning a similar policy, the group has made an effort to distance itself from the UK's controversial Rwanda policy, which has been under severe scrutiny for potentially breaking the European Convention of Human Rights. We need to get out of that. And the UN one. It's not fit for purposes, outdated. The UN one was 1951. I think Winston Churchill helped with it. It was intended because after the Second World War, were neighbouring countries, the people were moving about in neighbouring countries. Okay. Rwanda's asylum seeker policy could allow for the illegal migrants that the UK send there to be sent back to the country they originally came from. Saying, if this turned out to be the case for the illegal migrants in question, then it would mean that the UK has broken Article 3 of the Convention, right, to not be tortured. Well, most of them will just go home anyway, in my opinion. I mean, that guy from Nigeria in Dublin, well, he's not going here. We'll probably get citizens there because the Irish politicians are far too weak. But yeah, that Nigerian, he's in his 40s. He came over to Britain, I think last year for on a 6-month tourist visa. And this is another way people just come in, tourist visa. That's the way I would go in. And he said he was going to claim asylum in Britain after the 6 months. But once he heard about Rwanda and that, he heard that Ireland was softer, so he got a plane or a ferry to Belfast and then got a bus over to Dublin where he's claiming asylum, and he's just got there this week, I think. Once you actually hear the stories of these people, you think, oh, this is just totally ridiculous. I mean, he's come over on a tourist visa, because if you see this in BBC Question Time or something, you would get shot down, you're lying, or, the ones in favour of it can say anything they want, but if you don't have any story to back up, even though it seems that way, you're lying, or you get the R word and stuff. So anyway, let's see. Last year, the Court of Appeal in the UK ruled there were so many problems with Rwanda's asylum system that asylum seekers could indeed be forced back to the country they had fled from. I don't agree with that, but I think Rwanda's already got loads of asylum seekers from the UN. a lot from Afghanistan and that. Although I think the idea is they said to those asylum seekers, go here just now until you get a Western country, until a Western country claims you. You know, the likes of Canada have gone crazy on that sort of thing. So, yeah, so I'm wondering whether there's so many. I think I heard something like 105,000 have been placed there by the UN. We never hear these stories, of course, but I think they might be waiting to get moved to the West because they don't want it. Apparently, there's nowhere, no current Muslim country or country in Asia or Africa that suits their needs, apparently. For some reason, they don't want to go, or South America or Central America. It just happens to be West Europe and the quote old colonies. It's the only places they want to seem to go to. The Supreme Court ended up ruling the Rwanda policy unlawful, and in order to counteract this, the government has attempted to draft new legislation that officially declares Rwanda a safe country. Well, Boris said they could do that. They could just put a building and Rwanda's a safe country, so I don't know why they're going through this. Sunak likes to put it through court, but then Boris could have done all this as well, you know. This would prevent the courts from being able to block the government plans as Rwanda would be a safe country in the eyes of the law. However, this legislation is currently being prevented as the House of Lords, which has to agree to a House of Commons vote, is now consistently blocking the new law. The European People's Party manifesto stresses that the criteria for safe countries shall be in line with the core obligations of the Geneva Refugee Convention and the European Convention on Human Rights, neither of which are fit for purpose. It says that neither of the conventions include the right to freely choose the country of protection. So there we go. That's one thing. These people coming, they only really want about 12 countries. All of them the exact opposite of their sort of beliefs, you could say. Because you couldn't be in a more... In fact, they're wanting to go to the most atheist countries, it would seem. The European People's Party is a Christian Democrat group that believes in the use of Christian teachings to address political challenges. Well, that's a bit of a laugh, isn't it? It holds enormous sway over European decisions, not only because one of its members holds the presidency, but also because of the sheer scale of the group. The group has said in the final draft of its manifesto ahead of elections to the European Parliament in May that it wants a series of deals with non-EU countries with a view to deporting illegal migrants to safe countries elsewhere in the world. I really do hope this becomes the norm, you know. I mean, I've nothing against it. If some beautiful warm countries are wanting people from around the world, I mean, you could say that Rwanda wants to be the first voluntarily being the key word, the first multicultural of countries that do badly on indexes for women's rights and LGBTQ plus rights. They want to be multicultural in that sense. I don't know if they want their natives to become a minority, like it's going to happen in the West, but they will be the first volunteer country, you could say, to become a multicultural third and second world multicultural country. Probably just third world, I don't know about second. Yeah, well, I might. But as I say, it might turn out the first they go over there and say, this is fantastic. Then it becomes a desirable place. And then you might have people on the streets of London, maybe that supported Black Lives Matter. There might be people, the same group on the streets saying, don't let a lot of people from Britain and the West go to Rwanda. Don't let them go. And I'm not talking about illegal immigrants. We could have that situation if Diana Abbott speaking and stuff, I don't know. The draft advocating a fundamental change in European asylum law will be discussed at the EPP's annual Congress in Bucharest on Wednesday. That's today. So in Bucharest. The European People's Party is backing von der Leyen for a second term in office. However, the tightening of migration policies may prove to be challenging in the European Parliament for the President. How long is this going on? Not long. As President, she must represent the whole bloc, similar to a monarch being above politics, not just one group within it, however large that group is. She will be formally selected as the group's official candidate for the European Commission presidency in a vote in Romania on Thursday, tomorrow. Sophie in 't Veld, a Dutch MEP and the lead representative for the Liberal Renew group on the Parliamentary Committee for Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs, said, "Yet another unsavoury European People's Party chunk of red meat meant to attract the far-right vote. It will not work." Thank you, Sophie. I totally agree with you. I mean, it will work to an extent, but it will be too slow. I mean, at some point, all these people are going to be seen as traitors by the natives of Europe, these politicians. Someday, if they've got statues, they'll be toppled. Like in Scotland, 5 or 10 years, we may have statues of Nicola Sturgeon going up. Then in 20, 25 years, we'll have the same people knocking our statues down. That's the situation we're going to be in. So, centre rating on that's far too. I mean, someday the Greens female voters will become hysterical about the situation, and they will demand the opposite of what's happening at the moment. Anyway, this lady, Sophie, says, "It will not work." Well said, Sophie. All the EPP strategy has achieved over the past years, is making the far right bigger. So if they know it doesn't work, why do they stubbornly repeat the same tactics each time? Well said. So there's a lot going on with that. There's a vote whether they're releasing a manifesto today. I did hear something that, like I say, she might talk to the European CR group, who are maybe the far right group of far right parties in the EU, which would be Le Pen and Meloni, etc. So that's sort of becoming a norm for this issue, and it should be. We're heading for anarchy. So we've not had any growth really in the last 10, 15 years, despite having the most increase in population. So anyway, that's that Rwanda deal. Now on to subject number 2. Ireland. Yeah, there's an island crisis going on. A good channel to watch is Niall McConnell on YouTube. I've been watching him for a few years actually. He's really spot on, really, on this issue. But really, Ireland's totally changed, as I said, because they've been third world, second world crazy in terms of wanting people. I mean, Georgia's one of the main groups that have come over, plus the whole of Africa and Afghanistan, etc. Basically, all the countries again that do really bad. If the Greens had an index of countries for women's rights, these were basically we're getting the bottom of this list. If the Greens had a list, we're getting the very bottom now. And Ireland's went crazy for us over the last 25 years. The politicians have been calling anyone who disagrees with them, any Irish people, the R word. The R card's been brought out, especially by Sinn Féin. But now the people are getting angry, because they're actually putting camps in their villages and stuff now. And the people are out. There's a famous one that happens in Mount Newton, was it? Just between Dublin and Wicklow. There's some sort of camp going up there. Looks like the whole town came out, whereas there's a village. Everyone was clapping and stuff. And it might be a turning point over there, but as I say, it's already too late. The seeds are sown. Ireland's gone, and the Irish natives just need to get used to being just a group in that soil, really. And then they had the mayor of Derry, as they call it, which is actually in Northern Ireland. Britain still calls it Londonderry, but yeah, she's a Kenyan lady from a Kenyan political family. So I don't know why she's there at all. You know, she's doing well. She was doing, family were doing well over in Kenya. They were in politics. But for some reason, she's Irish now. Or is she Irish? Maybe she's British. The mayor of Derry, I don't know. Or is she? Anyway, she's calling the far right terrorists and all that, so that's not going down well. Um, with the Irish people or whatever. But the Irish people are still voting Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and Sinn Féin. So until they vote a patriotic party like I can't remember what they're called. I think Herman Kelly leads one. But just you don't need to bother about all their other policies. It's a protest vote in one issue, but you've got to vote usually far right because there's nobody on the left to vote for on this. In Britain, we've got the Social Democrat Party, but yeah, the Social Democrat Party's only got about 4 seats in Scotland or 6. Got candidates for, so yeah, so the Irish people, you need to stop voting Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil, and Fine Gael. And there's an election coming up there, it might be this year, in October or something, or next year, for sure. And Sinn Féin are expected to win it. I think they got the most the last time, but the other two parties done a deal to keep them out. And that just shows you how shocking it is over there, because the other two used to call Sinn Féin, you can't vote for them because they're terrorists. But now Sinn Féin was about to come straight through because the people kept voting for them. And they were up at 31% and that in the polls rather than 22%, etc. I mean, Fine Gael or whatever are 16% or something, but sadly for Sinn Féin, they've went all that woke way and they've been they've been the fastest who want to become a minority. They want to be a third and second world majority island. So there's no way I could suggest anybody votes for them. You've got to vote against them. You're really going to have to vote for Herman Kelly, Ireland's National Party, or whatever they call themselves. I think there's 2 or 3 small patriotic parties. You've got to get all them in. Abandon Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and all that. But anyway, that's Dublin thing. I mean, Leo Carafa, or whatever, he was totally in favour of it all, as was Humza Yousaf and Sadiq Khan, and in favour of basically the natives becoming a minority to the second and third world, basically. Yeah. So, but he lost that vote about 5 weeks ago, about to do with changing the constitution about I think what a women's code or something, and the other thing was to do with but what people saw was, whatever it was a woke things, but what people saw was another route for immigrants to bring family over or relatives. So they trounced him, and Leo lost it by 75% to 25%. So he resigned, but I think they all resign in these woke issues once, because it's tied in with immigration really, and they can see how it's going to go. They see that they're not going to be able to persuade the people anymore, like they did. Or I would say just went along with, and immigration was sort of hidden in with that. Or that. I think, same with Nicola Sturgeon, she probably went because of this as well. And Jacinda Ardern over and the Welsh guy. I mean, that's them U-turning on the 20 mile an hour thing, didn't they? Well, I say U-turn, but not all. They're not going to do all roads like that, and they're just some, but that means probably most. So they're still going to get it through without, because that 20 mile an hour thing, I think there was a petition against it. They got about 500,000 Welsh people signed it. So yeah, he went as well, that guy. I think they all see how it's going to go. Probably especially immigration's a sort of hidden one within it. It's a sort of Turkey in the pack. You know, it's going to destroy all of them, all of their careers basically. So they jump before they're pushed basically. I think that's why Nicola and that went as well, because really all these countries have got to go vote far right at the moment as a protest vote. But anyway, on to these camps. Let's see. Yeah, because I've been following this for a while. I mean, there's been camps there for a while. Tents. They're right in the middle of Dublin, camping out in tents. And I think it started mainly over last year, but the country's changed over the last 10, 20 years. I mean, it's not recognisable, I don't think, now, really. Yeah, but apparently now they're blaming the Rwanda thing, the Irish government, and they're saying that 80% or maybe even 90% are coming over through the Northern Ireland border. And this is ironic because this border, in the peace talks, it had to be an open border, and then in Brexit, it had to be an open border. Now they're talking about putting police there, and suddenly they've changed. Last month, the High Court said that you couldn't deport people to UK because it was unsafe because of the Rwanda thing. And now the politicians are putting a bill through quickly to refute that. They're not even going through the courts or anything because they're hoping to put all these people back over the British border, the Northern Ireland border. And they're saying stuff like that. This is abuse of the open border and we're going to send them back. I mean, it's like Northern Ireland, the politicians, it's like Republic of Ireland, they've been everyone welcome people, politicians. Now they're talking about them as if they're cattle or something, you know. It's just ironic. And the other thing is that this has long been a loophole for the other way. What people have been doing, say Nigerians have been going to Ireland, saying a travel visa or something, and then going through the border to UK, and then doing how either they become Irish citizens and go over the UK, or maybe just go over, probably become Irish citizens. Because if you become an Irish citizen, you'll be part of the EU, so you can go anywhere in the EU, or Britain, because we've got the free travelling across Northern Ireland, free travel agreement. So Irish citizens can come to Britain and stay as long as they want, live here their whole lives. So I think that's what a lot of them plan to do by doing this. Because Rishi Sunak called this sort of whack-a-mole the way these patterns. But all you need to do is the border forces just need to read TikTok and because this is where these people are getting their ideas from. You know, they'll get big groups where they advise each other. At the moment, the word is go to Ireland because it's softer, and then you can become an Irish citizen, either stay there or move back to Britain. This sort of thing. Yeah, because I Niall McConnell, he met an Algerian, I think it was Dublin, or somebody else it was, that he'd got a sort of visa, a student visa for Birmingham University. And then he got a plane or ferry over to Belfast and then got a bus down to Dublin and declared asylum there, and he was living in a tent in the middle of Dublin. And I think his plan probably was just to come over to Britain, get a student visa and just stay, claim asylum at some point, or just hang about for the 5 years, and then you have a right to a family life or whatever. But then when he heard about Rwanda, he decided to go to Northern Ireland and down to Dublin because he knows they're an easier touch. And also he probably knew as an Irish citizen he can come back here anyway. So let's see what we're saying. Migrants living in Dublin tents today thanked Rishi Sunak for refusing to let them back to Britain because they don't want to go to Rwanda. Around 1,700 asylum seekers are living in tents in the Irish capital after crossing the border over fears that they would be sent to Rwanda if they stayed in Northern Ireland. Rishi Sunak yesterday declared he is not interested in taking back migrants from Ireland when the EU was refusing to take back Channel migrants who came across from France. The row broke out after a senior Irish minister said they would draft emergency laws to send back refugees who had arrived from the UK to avoid being deported to Rwanda. I mean, this is the Irish politicians trying to blame the UK, but it's been going on for the legal migration. The Irish people should be protesting about that, never mind the illegal. But here's the Irish politicians try to blame the UK. It's disgraceful. And like I say, it's been a loophole for years. The other way around. People have been getting Irish citizenship, then moving across to the Island's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary Michael Martin blamed the influx of migrants on Britain's Rwanda scheme, as he claimed fearful asylum seekers were descending on Dublin. I mean, what's wrong with Dublin? Is it not a desirable place? Are they not a welcoming place? For years they've been going on, especially Sinn Féin, about welcome all. Among those sleeping under canvas in Dublin is asylum seeker Otumba, who travelled from Nigeria to the UK before settling in Dublin via Belfast. He told Mail Online, "I came into the UK, I wanted to seek asylum. Then 5 weeks ago we heard that the Rwanda bill was going to be passed and we don't want to go back to Africa." This is the interesting part when he talks about Africa, I mean, Diana Abbott, I wonder what she would think of him saying this. Africa is not an option. It is not safe. Africa is like a volcano that can erupt at any time. We decided to go to Ireland on the information that Ireland is safer and more accommodating. I mean, what is it about Africa? It's not safe, a whole continent. We had an idea about what was going to happen, so you don't take chances. Otumba, in his 40s, arrived in the UK 4 months ago after flying from his home in Lagos, Nigeria, on a 6-month tourist visa. We need to close down tourist visas to a lot of countries. He intended to claim asylum when his visa expired because he faced persecution back home, he says. After spending time in London, Leicester and Northampton, he took the train to Birmingham, where he then flew to Belfast before quickly taking a bus to Dublin. He continued in Belfast. It was a gateway to Ireland. We came straight here. We don't waste time. He's saying we as well. We wanted to get out of UK and we don't want to get caught. We just hopped on the bus. Otumba, a political refugee, I would put quotation marks on that, who said, "Some guys are after my life," described the Rwanda bill as a racist and hopes Mr Sunak will lose the election. Yeah, and there you go, Labour voters. Listen to what he's saying. Don't vote Labour. He continued, "A lot of people, especially the Arabs, they came to Ireland instead because they can integrate faster here than the UK, and there is no fear of Rwanda. But now our Irish Prime Minister wants to put emergency legislation to send people back. It's not going to work because the UK will say they're not willing to accept asylum seekers from Ireland, which I think is good news to us. We don't want to go to Rwanda. It's a very good thing that we can't go back to Northern Ireland. It concerns me that Ireland wants to send people back." The ironic thing is, the Irish politicians will now probably have that through within the next month. Normally it would take probably 2 years or something to get a bill like that through, but they'll probably just pass the law the next month themselves, ignoring their own courts and stuff. It concerns me that Ireland wants to send people back. He and 4 friends, who have all met here after travelling from Nigeria, now live in tents around the International Protection Office. When I heard that the Rwanda bill was going to be passed in no time, I was so scared, and people advised me to go to Ireland and said that they were going to be really accommodating. Yeah, that's probably TikTok or Telegram or Facebook, all big groups that our border forces can't seem to find out the patterns. Or the newspapers, it'd be good if the newspapers have put 10 or 20, a list of 10 or 20 people's Facebook posts, so you can see what they're up to, really. Travel visas, tourist visas, student visas, hanging around for 5 years until you get a right to private life or whatever. I didn't know we were going to be sleeping in tents. I thought we were going to get proper houses and stuff. Yes, that's understandable. We've been here for 5 weeks now and the situation has just been the same. Friends in Ireland told me that Ireland is much safer than the UK. Ireland will not support us. Now I hear that Ireland wants to send us back to the UK. No, we're not going anywhere. And he said he is terrified of being sent to Rwanda. He said, "We heard about the genocide some years ago." Yeah, it's still Africa. Well, it was 30 years ago. Africa is not safe. Africa is like a volcano waiting to erupt any time. This seems the same stuff, because war could break out any time. My country, Nigeria, is far better than Rwanda. Well, how ironic is that for him to say that? because that's what he'll probably do. If he gets sent to Rwanda, he'd just go back to Nigeria and probably try and get back to the West again. Abdul Mohammed, who was supposed to be on one of the first flights to Rwanda in 2022 before fleeing London, said, "I crossed because they want to send me to Rwanda. I don't want to go. I crossed in a small boat. I did not want to go to Rwanda. It's not safe. I was sent a letter in my hotel. I was in a hotel in London. I took a bus from London to Liverpool, then went from Liverpool to Belfast by boat. I then took a bus. I did it by myself." The 20-year-old who left Sudan and crossed into the UK from France in a small boat added, "Every country in Africa is not safe. Before, did you know the story of Rwanda? It was very bad." So here there's somebody else putting Africa down. The Labour MPs really should get on to him, should counter with a counter reaction to what he's saying, the image he's giving of it. "I received the letter in 2022. I left the hotel, went to stay with my friend. Then after that, I came here. I arrived in UK in 2022. I stayed for 2 years. I arrived in Dublin 20 days ago." So even though he got that letter, it looks as if he disappeared for two years. "I went from London to Belfast to Dublin in 1 day." Mr. Mohammed, who was speaking from his tent, said, "I am more confident about my position here than I am in the UK. Here they don't say anything. The UK says go to Rwanda. The UK is safe, but now it says to go to Rwanda and it's not safe. If the UK was not saying anything, I would not come here." This is another thing about this. I've no doubt that Ireland will end up doing the third country thing, the same as we're doing. So these politicians all need to go. Ireland needs to get rid of our three top parties, bring in Herman Kelly's party or something as a protest vote, just to set the bar on immigration. Basically, there should be zero immigration until it can be proven there's a benefit from it, because even doctors and stuff, there was a doctor in Liverpool in the news in the Daily Mail. I think he was from Malawi, but apparently three women who worked with him reported him. He said it was sort of banter or something like that. Anyway, it went to court and he was found not guilty, so you've got to treat him as not guilty. All women listening need to treat him as not guilty. But the three women, I don't know, they seemed a bit upset about it. One of them reported him. Yeah, I think it was stuff like touching bottom and stuff, or saying things. But if women are upset about it, you need to dump Labour, because Labour, I think Labour, more of these situations might occur. I mean, there's an index of countries for women's rights, and when you look at the way Britain's changing, I think we always start. Well, I bet Cooper and that feel that we're going to go faster on women's rights, but that's up to you how you feel about that. Another asylum seeker, 20-year-old Mahmoud, also fled Jordan for the UK, but said he quickly moved to Ireland because he was worried about being deported to Rwanda. We don't have asylum in Rwanda. We don't have asylum in Britain," he said. "The problem with Britain is that they might send us to Rwanda. I came 2 months ago because I'm scared about this." The driver fled his homeland in January after he was found to have cheated on his wife with a married woman. Yes, of course, when you end up going from Jordan to the UK, that makes total sense, doesn't it? "I ran into problems in Jordan," he said. "I could have been killed. I had a relationship with a married woman, and then my wife found out, and her family found out, and then her brothers wanted to kill me." He hopes one day that he will be able to return to Amman. "Speaking honestly, if my problem could be solved, I would go home now," he said. Mohammed al-Safi, 47, fled from the West Bank in Palestine to the UK 2 months ago because he thought it was maybe more safe to come than UK to Ireland, I think. Of course, no other country in between there was to his liking or whatever. Right? Mr. al-Safi, a painter, first went to Jordan and then France before reaching the UK. He crossed on a small boat before getting a ferry to Belfast. It's a dinghy, it's not a small boat. This is the thing that annoys me about stop the boats. It's not boats, it's dinghies. Boats makes it sound harder to stop. It's dinghies. The father of two, his children are aged 12 and 14 and remain in Palestine. Oh, it's nicer calling it Palestine anyway. It's maybe called the West Bank. I would call it the East Palestine and Gaza, West Palestine. And Palestine said he paid a man to take him from Belfast to Dublin despite there being no border. I give him money, he said, I don't know. So he paid someone rather than get a bus or taxi. That man tells me he give me money and come here. I gave him money in Belfast. I don't know what I was doing. I'm in the car box up. I don't see where I'm going. I didn't know what. I didn't see anything. I need to come to Dublin, he added. I need to live. There are no visas in Belfast. In UK, there are no visas. The government maybe makes you go to Rwanda. I mean, this is making me like Rwanda more and more. I'm in favour of Rwanda anyway. And as I say, they might love it. It might be great. But if they don't like it, they'll probably just go back to their own country, basically. Because they're not moving here because of asylum or because of the economy even. They're moving here because they think the people, the natives are nice and they create a nice society. And it's not something that they don't want to live in a country where everyone looks like themselves, including all their politicians. And they maybe like firing Kalashnikovs in the air or fireworks in the air while holding them, that sort of thing. They maybe don't like traffic lights, sort of stuff. I would say judge a country by the way the people conduct themselves at traffic lights. That would probably be a good indication, and it might match women's rights and LGBTQ plus rights. We don't know that, but yeah, I see it on the news on social media. I think the UK government will pay for you to go to Rwanda. Rwanda is not good, so he's saying even though they'll pay for you, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, on the tense of stuff like we're not subhuman, all that. Apparently, the Irish Council or the Dublin Council have taken all their stuff away today, all their tents. They've done that for St Patrick's Day a couple of months ago, and they put them in a campsite outside the town. But the migrants never even gave it a chance, and they all just came back. And one of them even got a lift. There was a Virgin Media team there. I don't know if they were a news team, but they were there filming it. And then when they packed up, they gave two or three migrants a lift back to central London. So I don't know. And that's a famous video now. Not famous enough because I think if most Irish people saw it, they would start voting for Herman Kelly's party. But it just goes to show you that they've tried this already, and the migrants, a lot of them actually walked back to Dublin, but it was only about 5 miles out of the city centre or something. A lot of them walked back. They didn't give it a chance. But what's going to happen this time is that probably the government are going to insist that they stay there just to keep them out of the headlines. Because central Dublin's full of these tents now. Because they feel safe there, in the central London. I mean, if I was a migrant, I would be hanging about Buckingham Palace or camping outside there or, House of Commons. I wouldn't want to be in the outskirts of London or something, So hopefully this whole trend ends, I hope this is the end of this trend because apparently in Britain today they're picking up detainees for the Rwanda thing because there's a council elections tomorrow over England and the Tories are expected to do badly, and a mayoral election, the London mayoral election. So that's probably also because they just passed that bill, but they're starting to. I think all migrants illegals should be detained anyway as soon as they set foot on England. And Widdicombe said that 25 years ago. But now they're finally starting to detain some that have had letters sent out. So, yeah, but I think the difference between the government this time is that they're serious this time. Because usually what happens is the van gets blocked and the police release them, That's what usually happens. So far this time, that's not happened. I heard that was happening in Easterhouse as well. And one of the SNP MSPs, was it, Anne McLaughlin, she's saying, well, I think people took what she said to was say, break the law if necessary to stop them taking anybody. From what I saw, nobody had been taken yet anyway. I don't know, I've not heard anything from Glasgow, but if you're upset about this, you need to stop voting SNP, Labour, etc. You know, if you don't want to become a minority, basically, in Scotland, you need to stop voting Labour, SNP, and vote Tory at least as a protest vote, or further right, preferably, but Tory at least, or the Social Democrat Party. Yeah, back to this now. Mr. Alsafe stayed in London for just one day. Added, I hope Dublin gives me papers. After that, I can bring my family over. Asylum seeker Ahmed said he fled the West Bank earlier this year and travelled to the UK. Yeah, this is the same stuff. I could have claimed asylum in the UK, but it takes too long, he said. I know someone came to the UK years ago, but they're still trying to get asylum. Well, that's good to hear. Because I've said this before, that none of these people should get, all of them should, any asylum should be temporary. Under the condition that if your country becomes safe, you can go home. And they've done that with Denmark recently, when the left get trounced in 2015 on immigration. And that was Stephen Kinnock's wife, who was a leader. She got trounced, and then this law got brought in. I think she even went hardline on it to try and save her own position, but she was too late, or they didn't trust her, you know. A couple of years later, she said Denmark should take in all Syrians, so she was lying anyway, really. Yeah, I saw a thing in Denmark where the family got a letter saying, although they've been here a few years, they had to go back now because Syria was safer now, you know. I totally agree with that. It should be temporary, really. And even generational thing, you know, because there's no point in the West being anarchic. That doesn't help anybody. We're heading for anarchy. So that doesn't help anybody at all. At some point, the Greens female voters will be hysterical. And I use them as an example because they're the most left, you know. So it means that the Labour women voter, they'll have gone along before that, probably. Let's see what else he's saying. They treat Palestinians with more respect here. Ireland has better relations with Palestine and Britain, and that's why I came here. Yeah, that's true, because they say good things, the sensible things towards Palestine. I've got lots of sympathy for Palestine, but don't come here. There's no point in Britain becoming unstable, you know. That doesn't help anybody. Father of two Imran who came from Afghanistan to Ireland via France said, asylum seekers are worried about coming to Rwanda. That's the main reason they're leaving England. This is all fantastic news, because they are trying to send them to Rwanda. They are scared of these deportations, he added. The interesting thing about that is I thought Afghanistan was basically instant citizenship in Britain, like the Tories would give it citizenship as if it was, you know, sweeties to Afghanistan. I thought all Afghans get it. I mean, Pakistan's just sent 1.5 million Afghans back to Afghanistan, but that's just something separate. Tension continues to rise between Irish locals and homeless asylum seekers whose tents are lining the roads around the International Protection Office. When Mail Online visited the encampment, locals walking past covered their noses to show their disgust at the smell of urine in the area. Others voiced their anger, etc. Apparently, they've got a sort of bit where they defecate and all that. Hundreds of tents are packed tightly together with minimal personal space, and migrants have no access to sanitary facilities. A large group of the migrants were moved to another location in South Dublin earlier this month, but later returned because the conditions there were reportedly even worse. Yeah, reportedly by them. We don't actually know. I doubt it very much. I think they had washrooms and everything, and toilet rooms. Abdul, a 24-year-old migrant who spent 7 months travelling from Afghanistan to Northern Ireland, said it was not fair that he was forced to travel to Dublin to avoid being sent to Rwanda. The married father of two told Mail Online, and outside Dublin's tent city, there is a word, humanity. Everyone needs to be human. We are humans. We have a problem in our country. I got here today from Northern Ireland. When asked why he had come to Ireland, he said Rwanda. I think this is not good. Our country, we are in the bullshit, I think, and they are trying to apply their policies and rules on us. The asylum seeker said he came to Ireland because, and as I know, other country could go to neighbouring. The asylum seeker said he came to Ireland because of UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. But Abdul added, the Irish government wants to send us back to the UK. That is not fair. It took 7 months to get from Afghanistan to Northern Ireland. Look at my face, you will get the idea how difficult it is. Blah, blah. He added, it's not fair on humans not allowing refugees to return to Northern Ireland. We need to spend life like normal people spend. We are also humans. We also want to have a normal life, get education, or get medical facilities and all these things. And they also have views on women and LGBTQ plus as well. Plus they maybe like firing Kalashnikovs in the air, I don't know. And that sort of macho ego thing. This is the reason everyone knows about Rwanda. The corruption and the situation is Rwanda. It is a very backward country. There is no facilities. Their people are also crying. We feel better here. And how does he know all this? Like I say, the first lot might go over and they might say it's fantastic. I'm married and I have a family there, so I need travel documents and all these things. It is important to visit and see my family or take them here. They are also not safe. I want a better quality of life. Not yet, but maybe later. This is my first day. Here's another pair of friends who just arrived from Dublin from Northern Ireland. Said they left with no choice because of the fear of being sent to Rwanda. It's not fair. We've had to come here after a week. We are tired and hungry. Adi, who arrived in ADHOI, who arrived in Dublin from London on March 20th, said everyone is coming here now because maybe they are scared about going to the African country. I came from Sri Lanka, so Sri Lanka, there's no case from that. From UK after a few years. I have been in London. I came to Dublin due to money personally. In London, it's hard to get jobs and there's not a proper lifestyle. That's why we came here. I know about Rwanda. Honestly, to go to Rwanda, I do not want to go there because the situation would be far worse than what is happening here or in the UK. So we don't want to go there. When asked about whether Ireland is doing enough to support asylum seekers, he said, everywhere there is people sorting us out and others who think it's our country. We can't bring people here to change their history. Ireland is doing well, but it's a little bit of a slow process. And what does he think? Does he think it's fair for people to come and change their history? And would he like to see that happen? Would he like Sri Lanka to become multicultural with, say, people from Africa, seeing he's in Asia? He said he was not interested in going back to the UK, adding, the lifestyle is really good, but when it comes to work, I work a 12-hour shift in a care home. Then they take 25% of our salary as a tax. Yeah, income tax. And the amount they pay is £10.50. They take all the, an hour, I guess. They take all the taxes, and if you work 5 to 6 days a week, it's still paying thousands tax. Yeah, he doesn't seem to like the social contribution, but it would seem. He sounds like a neocon, really. Right-wing economist, far-right economist. Obida Gaza, who made it to Dublin from Gaza after paying a trafficker $8,000. That 8,000 is probably to get out of Gaza into Egypt, because apparently the Egyptians charged them that to get out. I came from Can Yunis to Egypt. I crossed the Jenning cruises and I went from Egypt to Turkey to Greece to France without documents. I had fake documents. When I woke up, I was in Dublin. Mr. Gaza, who got a small walk from Cali to Dublin. So I don't know about that. I think he means Cali to Britain, then Dublin. Said he did not want to go to the UK. When asked if Rwanda came into his mind, he said, if the country don't want us, get me back to Gaza. I would go back to Gaza and I would die with my family. No, it doesn't look as if he's going to do that. I would rather die with my brothers and sisters of my country than go back to Rwanda if they don't want us there. I mean, that's saying something. I mean, what has he got against Rwanda? It can't be worse than what's happening in Gaza at the moment. Has he even looked at any pictures or videos? I'm here to start a life. If you don't want me to keep me here, I would rather go back to Gaza. Mr. Gaza said that people hate us at the encampment. Ashan Pool, 31, who came from Sri Lanka to Dublin 2 months ago, said, Ireland is better than the UK. I heard people saying, stay here, don't go to UK. UK is too much a problem. Here is good. Here they have peaceful people helping each other. That's why I stay here. He said part of the reason he came to Ireland rather than the UK was because of the threat of going to Rwanda. He added, there is no work, no protection like Ireland. Here, the only problem we have is accommodation. Everything is good. Here they give free medicine, food, breakfast, lunch, dinner. When asked whether the Irish government are right to send migrants back to Belfast, he said, I don't think it is good. Another migrant who did not want to be named said he came from Egypt and said it would not be good to go back to Africa if he was sent to Rwanda. I'm happy to be here, he said. So he's happy to be in a tent in rainy Dublin. He said he has been in Dublin for 5 days and will travel around Europe to places such as Holland, France and Belgium, but not the UK. Yeah, because basically they see the West as Disneyland, with the natives being the Disneyland workers and management, make it function. The Irish government is to introduce legislation in response to an Irish High Court ruling last month that Ireland's designation of the UK as a safe third country for returning asylum seekers in the context of the Rwanda plan is contrary to EU law. So this is the irony, because the Irish government were probably in favour of it at the time, but now they see what is happening. And it's a reversal of the situation. It's no longer third worlders getting Irish citizenship and then moving to Britain across the border. Now it's the other way around. And so they're changing their law and their opinions instantly. Mr. Sunak said the comments from Ireland showed that the deterrent is already having an impact. If they know they won't be able to stay there, much less likely to come, the Premier told Sky News on Sunday. The thing about illegals is, I think last year it was about 69,000. Only about sort of 30,000 of them were from boats, dinghies. The other ones were probably travel visas, student visas, all that sort of thing. So it's about 52% or something, the dinghy people of the illegals. But then the net amount of people who came in, probably from the second and third world, was, I think it was 1.4 million. So you're talking about maybe 70,000 max. But illegals, it was 1.4 million, or visas anyway. People keep saying 700,000, but that's net. So actually gross, it was 1.4 million. So this is a tiny thing. But the Tories have brought something in saying that most students can't bring their families anymore. And apparently, we just heard the other day that went down from the first quarter last year in 23, it was like 34,000 family came over. And that's just a quarter of the year. So if that was repeated, that would have been over 100,000 that way. But over 130,000 probably. But this year it's down to about 6,000, just. They're saying, quote, just. I mean, 6,000 in a quarter, that's still a lot. Apparently, and Suella says they're not doing enough about students still, but it's a start. And it was hard to put that through. I'm a big fan of Suella, even though she says she's not totally against immigration. For political and economic reasons, she can see things in favour of it, but also personal, she said. And that worries me a bit because personally, I don't think it's a good thing. And I don't think India would stand for it at all. Doesn't look like India's going to go that way. Over there, it's okay to vote Modi, and probably the British diaspora probably mainly support Modi as well. And he's known across the world for a certain thing. Yeah. And so Sunak told ITV News Sunday, not interested in that. We're not going to accept returns from the EU via Ireland when the EU doesn't accept returns back to France, where illegal migrants are coming from. Yeah, that new Irish leader, Fine Gael or whatever, I mean, he sounded combative. He sounded as if they're going to do it whether UK allow them or not. They're going to push these people back over the border. I mean, it's the total opposite of the image that have been shown of Ireland for the last 60 years or whatever, welcome all, we want to be a minority. I've not said that, but that's what's going to happen. So it is ironic to see them sort of saying they're just going to push everybody back over the border. And the cheek of them, really. When questioned whether there was any negotiations with the EU on returns, he added, "No, I'm focused on getting the Rwanda scheme up and running. The good thing about this is that we may be able to do a deal with France to send the dinghies back, basically, because France could say what they wanted to. They don't want to, really. One policeman knifed a dinghy the other day, but that's the first time I've seen that happen in 2 years or something. I mean, he could just knife every dinghy, But, yeah, Mr. Sunak's Rwanda plan moved a step closer this month after legislation. Yeah, we know that. The government is now pushing for the first flights to the East African country to take off in July. And as I say, it may be lovely. Certainly Rwanda seems to be in... Rwanda had a deal with Arsenal when they were on their shirts, come to Rwanda. I don't know if they're still there. Speaking in County Monaghan on Sunday, it'd be interesting to see if any Brits go to Rwanda on holiday, certain types, maybe fancy it. Speaking in County Monaghan on Sunday, Mr. Harris, that's the new Irish leader, said, "Every country is entitled to have its own migration policy, but I certainly don't intend to allow anybody else's migration policy to affect the integrity of our own one." How is it affecting it? It's not. We've got an open border that you wanted. We're not pushing them across. This country will not in any way, shape or form provide a loophole. It's not a loophole for anybody else's migration challenges. It's only a loophole to the people going. It's not a loophole for the British government or anything. That's very clear. Other countries can decide how they wish to advance migration. From an Irish perspective, we intend to have a firm, rules-based system where rules are in place, the rules are enforced, the rules are seen to be enforced. It is a statement of fact that there was a returns agreement in place between Ireland and Britain, and there was a High Court decision in the month of March in relation to that. Irish High Court. My colleague, the Minister for Justice, will now bring forward legislative proposals to Cabinet on Tuesday that will put in place a new returns policy, i.e. he's going to ignore that one. We're going to await the full details of that, but it's one which will effectively allow, again, people to be returned to the United Kingdom. The irony. And I think that's quite appropriate. It was always the intention. It's very important in migration and in the challenge that migration poses in so many countries that you can be agile and respond to things quickly as they arise. Well, the Rwanda bill's taken like 2.5 years, and still, I think only one person has went voluntarily the other day with 3,000k in his pocket. Meanwhile, Mr. Martin told reporters in Dublin on Friday, clearly we've had an increase in the numbers coming into Northern Ireland into the Republic. This problem's been going on for... It's not just the illegals, it's illegals. Ireland's changed beyond... I mean, the people of Ireland, the natives of Ireland are going to be really, really angry at some point, and all these politicians are going to have to go, really. It's a bit like that after the Civil War, after they got liberation in 1920 or whatever. Can't even remember what that Civil War was about. There's that guy who gets shot when and it's fairly obvious that a Rwanda policy, clearly we've had it's fairly obvious that a Rwanda policy, if you're a person in a given situation in Ukraine, well, then you don't want to go to Rwanda. Not that anybody has gone yet, I hasten to add. So I think it's a fair comment of mine. There are many other issues. It's not in any way trying to blame anything or anything like that. I don't know. The Irish Examiner reckons 1,700 homeless asylum seekers currently in Ireland. A residents group in Dublin's south inner city has pleaded for those staying in tents on Mount Street to be moved to more appropriate space or accommodation or interim shelter. See, this is where the problems come, really, because they've nowhere to put them, basically, and they've started putting them in villages and towns, and the people don't like it. That's them getting a real taste of Highland's going to change. It's not going to be a subtle thing that changes with monthly. It's something that's changing overnight, And I just hope that they'd start voting Helen Kelly's party, because if they keep voting Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin, it's all a waste of time. A residents group in Dublin, South Inner City, has pleaded for those stinging tents on Mount Street to be moved. Yeah, that's it. One woman who moved from London to Dublin in March said she was not aware that the tents were in the area of where she was moving to. She said she was paying $1,500 a month, which is way more in London, which is sad. Don't know what that's. But don't know. This article's been mistakes in it. Yeah. So that's my three things I'm talking about. Basically, it's changing by the hour now. Well, daily at least, anyway, because this Rwanda bill's taken 2.5 years to get through, or whatever, but now things are happening daily that make it look as if something's going to happen. I mean, some people to see those detainees today in Britain might be having tears of relief, maybe not, I don't know. But I would say for great-granddaughters for your daughter's great-granddaughters or whatever, it's maybe a big day today with that. The Daily Mail says Rwanda crackdown finally gets underway. Moment first illegal migrants set to be deported are handcuffed, put in vans and detained in dramatic, Home Office stone immigration raids. Anyway, I'm a bit tired now, so that's me. Okay, goodbye everybody. Goodbye.